in the morning. Start again. Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your buried body began to breathe. Out of the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Jesus, yours is the victory. Hallelujah. Praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah. Death has lost its grip on me. There's salvation in your name. There's salvation in your name. Jesus Christ, our living hope. Jesus, you are living hope.
Thanks, Brandon. Good morning. Good morning, Ridgeview, and I hope you all are doing well. Today, my friend Mike and I are going to give you reasons for hope in the midst of all that's going on right now. And I think we all need an infusion of hope right now. You know, this COVID-19 is actually, I think, just a simple reminder about a lot of things. But one of them is just how fragile we really are. You know, a little perspective here on how fragile we all really are. You see, this little pathogen doesn't care about how much money you have. It doesn't care how powerful you might think you are. The virus doesn't care. It's an equal opportunity little critter, okay? It doesn't care if you think it's a relatively harmless, overblown version of a cold, okay? It doesn't care if you think it's a conspiracy theory propagated by the right or the left-wing media. It doesn't care if you think it's a hoax or a cover for a shadowy political power grab. It doesn't care if you think famous people are paid off for claiming that they've contracted it. It doesn't care if you think it's a conspiracy designed to force vaccines on us or to force us into universal health care. It doesn't care if you think it originated in bat soup. It doesn't care if you think it comes from the 5G networks that are being put up around the world. It doesn't care if you think it's a plot by the Chinese, the Italians, the Jews, the Iranians, or something that just got away, you know, from a sinister U.S. laboratory, military lab or something. It doesn't care, okay? It's just going to do its evil work no matter what you think or who you are. And here's the thing. Sadly, it doesn't care, and these are true stories of people that I know, okay? It doesn't care if you're a 20-something-year-old young woman who's supposed to have a big wedding in a couple weeks. It doesn't care if you're missing your senior prom, or you might miss your senior graduation in those special, months at the end of your high school and school-age experience. It doesn't care if you're missing your final high school or college spring sports season. It doesn't care that you just got pitched out of your wheelchair a couple days ago and busted your hip, and you had to have surgery yesterday, and no one can even visit you in the hospital because of fear about what's going on. It doesn't care about this young man who's a son, a brother, a husband, and a father to 3 beautiful little girls. It doesn't care that he developed a malignant tumor, an aggressive tumor. It doesn't care that he just got the worst possible diagnosis. It doesn't care that you're a person that's dealing with the aftermath of a suicide of a teenage girl and an unrelated suicide of a teenage boy. It doesn't care that your daughter was murdered, your daughter-in-law was murdered, and that because of social distancing restrictions, you can't properly mourn and have a proper memorial service for her. It doesn't care. We're all facing the disruptions of our routines, and many are facing extreme financial insecurity right now. And people are facing life passages that are incredibly disrupted. And many didn't need the threat of a deadly pathogen to remind them that life is fragile and temporary. It's like this. Our whole world is making a 911 call right now. We're in the middle of this emergency, okay? And within that global corporate drama, okay, there are many, many people facing personal 911 situations in the middle of all the craziness that's going on. And the question becomes, when you're in those situations, whether it's your personal one or this big corporate global one, the question is, who do we call? Who do you call? Who can rescue us when we're all so vulnerable in the face of an uncompassionate, uncaring threat? This morning I want to say two things to you, and then my friend Mike's going to come up and say a third. COVID-19 is really, I think, a wake-up call to us all, to remind us of two vital truths. The first one is this. It's a question. Who are you going to call? Who are you going to call? Think of it this way. It's like we're all on this ship called planet Earth, okay? And our ship has hit a storm, okay? And everyone on board in the midst of this storm is asking, will we weather the storm? You know, how will we survive? What should we do? And as we clear the decks, we batten down the hatches, we huddle in our sealed compartments, okay? I believe the one who put us on board this vessel is waiting for us to shake awake our faith and desperately ask for his help. Now, there was a real 911 situation that happened when Jesus was in the earth, walking amongst the earth, and he was traveling with his group of companions, and they were out on this water. And as they sailed, it says that Jesus settled down for a nap up in the front of the boat that they were in. And for some people, that's exactly what it feels like right now. They feel like, you know, is anybody up there? You know, are you asleep? You know, what's going on? And this fierce storm came on the water, and the boat was filling with water, and it says that they were in real danger. Now, in a situation like that, who are you going to call? There's no radio, okay? Back in those days, there's no Coast Guard. Who are you going to call? Nobody's coming, okay? And the disciples went and woke him up, and they were shouting, Master, Master, we're going to drown. And when Jesus woke up, it says he rebuked the wind and the raging waters, and suddenly the storm stopped, and it was all calm. And then he turned to them, and he said, where's your faith? Where is your faith? You see, I think 911 situations are meant to shake awake our faith. It says then that when they saw what happened and how he delivered them, the disciples were actually terrified. Because it's like they were amazed. And it says, they are asking each other, who is this man? Who is this guy we're with? You know, when he gives a command, even the wind and the waves obey him. And I think during this 911 experience that we're all having, like these guys had so many years ago, the same question is asked upon us, and that is, where is your faith? COVID-19 is a wake-up call to our planet to remind us of some vital truths. The first one is this: who are you going to call? Where's your faith? In the midst of responsible action, okay, there comes a time when we realize that a situation is absolutely beyond our ability to control. And I think it's times like this that we need to remember to put your faith in the one who can silence the storm by the power of simply a command, okay? You see, COVID-19 doesn't care, but the one who put you here does care, and this is a time for us all to wake up to that. Jesus cares. He says, listen, I'm here. If you'll turn to me, I'll help you get through this time. So that's the first truth. And the second truth is this: how are you going to live? How are you going to live in this time that you have here on this earth? I think COVID-19 is a wake-up call to the planet in another sense, too. And it's to remind us of an obvious truth, and it's this. If you think of your life, think of it this way, okay? Every life that goes the normal course of life has this kind of experience. our lives are like a day here on this earth, okay? Our lives are like, the time we have on this earth is like the time that the sun courses through the sky on any given day. There comes a time when the sun comes up. And that's a really beautiful time when a life enters the world, you know. And there's this sunrise, and that's when your day begins. And then there's that early morning light, those early morning times, the sweetness of the morning, the early part of that one day that you get on this earth. And then comes, as the sun goes higher and time passes by, there comes those times of the heat of the day when the sun's at a higher point in this world. And in your life, and when it's easy not to notice the passage of time. And during that time of life, in that time of your day here on this earth, it's easy not to appreciate this one and only day that you receive. Then comes the time when you start to realize that the shadows are growing a little bit longer. And then in every life, then comes the twilight. And then comes the time when that sun sets and your one and only life is over. And the idea is this: you only get one day. And when that day is over, it's gone. Okay, so the question becomes, what are you going to do today? Okay, with this one and only day that you get. My friend Brandon is going to sing another song, and it's about a guy who gets challenged by the fact that someone he knew was dying. And his dying friend's attitude was very practical. He understood and embraced this idea that he only got one day to live. And he lived a well-lived life. And his perspective was, live each day as if you were the light of the world. And when you get to the end, there'll be no regrets. Live for the purpose for which you were made. The key idea is in the lyric. It says this: you have a choice to think of two different ways you can think about your life. You can think about your life and say it's only flesh and bone, this life that's in your hand. And then when it's over, it's over. There's nothing more. Or, as this man lived his life, and as this man said, he liked to think of it as something more. That he was living more like the sunshine on the land.
I went to see a friend of mine who was soon to pass away. He said, this life has been so good to me. Now I've still got one more day. And he said this as he watched the morning sun. Then he smiled by the way, 'cause he said that every morning he lived his life this way. He said, I am the sunshine, you are the sunshine, we are the sunshine. Help me understand, we are the sunshine on the land. He said this life is like a day we live, it's never here to stay, 'cause it's gonna pass like the light across the day. Now when you're looking at the earth, the sunshine on the earth, the light does come and go. And when you're looking at the earth shine from the sun, it's quite a different show. He said it's time you know that I am the sunshine, and you are the sunshine, and we are the sunshine. Help me understand, we are the sunshine on the land. So don't be fooled, there's no sun around this world, so just turn around to catch light on the other side. So enjoy this spinning ride. And now I'm thinking of the things he said as I'm walking from his grave. And though I haven't had a life like his, I've still got one more day. Now you may say it's only something more, like the sunshine on the land. He said, I am the sunshine, and you are the sunshine, and we are the sunshine. Help me understand, we are the sunshine. You are the sunshine. You are the sunshine. You are the sunshine. We 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 are the sunshine.
So there's different perspectives we can have. Some people would want to tell you that this life is just flesh and bone, and when it's over, there is nothing more. But the question is there something more? Okay, and there's different perspectives people can have about life. From one perspective, people can say it's only flesh and bone, this life that's in your hand. And they say, put on your big boy pants and just face that truth, you know. And these folks, they take the advice of W.C. Fields when he said, there comes a time in the affairs of man when we must take the bull by the tail and face the situation. Just face it. That's it. Put on your big boy pants and realize that we live, we die, and we're done. It's only flesh and bone, this life that's in your hand. When the light goes out, it's out. That's it. But the book tells us to consider it to be something much more. God tells us to think of our lives more like the sunshine on the land. Jesus said this. He said, you are the light of the world. You are the light of the world. And people don't put a light, they don't light a lamp and put it under a bowl and hide it. Okay? And instead they put it on its stand so they can give light to everyone that's in the house. The simple idea is this, that if you put your faith in Christ, if you made that 911 call, the simple idea is that God lights you up and gives you the light of life so that you can give light to other people, so that you can pass it on. You're blessed so that you can be a blessing. And Jesus made it very clear about how we can shine our light. He said that it happens when you do good things for other people. He continued, he said, in the same way, okay, God lit you up, put it on the stand, let it shine. In the same way, let your light shine before men so that they may see your good deeds. And when they see your good deeds, when they experience the goodness that you brought in their life, the light that you brought into their life, they'll praise your Father in heaven. Now, nobody walks around and goes, you know, when they receive something good from somebody, they don't go, praise your Father in heaven. That's not what they say, okay? That's not how we talk. But what do they say? They say, thank God you showed up. I don't know what I would have done without you. We shine the light when we love other people. We shine the light when we express forgiveness. We shine the light by passing what we've received on to other people, by paying it forward. And one of the ways we do this is with our hands. There's a COVID-19 challenge that I'd like to put out to you, and it's this. Jesus had hands just like ours. He walked amongst us, and he did things. And like an Italian tourist or like an American, you know, who walks around New York City and talking with their hands, okay? He spoke with his hands. He spoke with his hands when his hands folded in prayer. He spoke with his hands when he went in the temple and dumped the tables. He spoke with his hands when he touched the oozing skin of a leper. He touched with his hands when he held the face of a child in them. He touched with his hands when he elevated a forgiven whore and gave her the possibility of a new life. Jesus' hands are nail-scarred, eternal reminders of personal involvement. His hands teach us a body of values and personal involvement, a level of engagement that's meant to be imitated. The COVID-19 challenge to all of us is to express those values, to shine the light while we keep our hands to ourselves. And so what it's going to require is for us to learn how to show compassion, mercy, grace, and forgiveness in tangible ways, but we have to maybe do it in creative ways, okay? That we are all challenged to figure out how to express those values, to shine that light, to do those good things for each other while we keep our hands to ourselves, okay? And so as we clear the decks, batten down the hatches, get into our sealed compartments for the common good, we allow our experiences to shake us awake, to make that 911 call, to shake awake our faith, to ask for help, to put our faith in the one who can silence the storm, and also to allow the experience to remind us that we only get one gig in this life. We only get one day. And to live that life like the sunshine on the land. That's the COVID-19 vital reminder. To consider yourself more like the light, like the sunshine on the land. Now my friend Mike is going to come up and share with you how to prepare for that time when your day ends.
I want to say good morning. I'm happy to be here. Today we're just going to dive right into it so that I don't keep you guys too long. My thought process today is talking about things from perspective of what I do. That 911 call, if you will, Bill's talking about. My job is unique as a police officer. I've seen the best and the worst in people and the best and worst that they have to offer. I've witnessed challenges both personal and through the eyes of other people that I encounter at work. But I will tell you that it's a crazy job. No matter what you do, you're always seeing something different. But I think right now, a lot of us are feeling that way. A lot of us are feeling that anxiety, that life change, that thing that alters us that we weren't prepared for. Perhaps we're all feeling far more vulnerable than we were 2 months ago. And I found that very curious because I think that sometimes we just need to be woken up. So we think through, what are we actually preparing for? Well, right now I look at everybody's life and they're looking at, what do we do with our kids? What do we do with our family? What do we do with our job? How are we moving forward? What makes us safe? How do I stay safe? There's so many things we don't know. But if we really think about what we're doing and we take the time to prepare, there's a couple simple things that we can do that stops life from sneaking up on us. We work here and we try to work together, but we also work with the hand of God. I've seen death, I've seen tragedy. I've held a small child after doing CPR that didn't make it. And these are instances in my life that changed my life wholeheartedly. Things that I've shared, the emotions, the utter horror, the sadness, and occasionally rejoicing with people that are involved in incidences that I've had to go to. My twin brother nearly being killed by a man and escaping death simply by the hand of God. We have to realize that through all these things, we still work together, and there is joy to be had. Scripture reaches out to us in Ephesians 6:13. Therefore, put on every piece of God's armor, so you will be able to resist the enemy in the time of evil. Then after the battle, you will still be standing firm. We're in a battle. I think a lot of people weren't prepared for the battle because there's things we can't control. And believe me, as a cop, I want to control everything. Ask my wife, she'll tell you. But what I will tell you is this. We have to focus on what people are actually looking for armor. What are we trying to put on? So many times we're looking in the wrong place. Right now people are trying to collect water and food, clothing, ammo, toilet paper. For what? The zombie apocalypse, COVID-19, the next disaster. Now I'm not saying it's wrong, it's okay. Because I may have collected a bottle of water or 12, and I may have gotten a large delivery of toilet paper. I'm not judging. And don't judge, I'm not a hoarder. Sometimes it just happens that way. But I want everybody watching to take a moment and think this. What have you lived through? What was it? Really take a pause. Was it sickness? Was it tragedy? Was it an accident? Have you been to war? Are you in your own personal war right now? What support are you really looking for? There are thousands and thousands of examples that can be presented in many, many ways. But every time in history, we see the same thing over and over again. None of these things are new. But think of that time in big capital letters on my paper right here. We assume we control it, and we don't. But maybe with some of these examples today, we'll see how we really decide to prepare and what are we truly preparing for. Noah didn't build an ark when it started to rain, so why do we wait? What are we most often prepared for? John 14:3 says this, "And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, you may also be." Jesus prepared a place for us. That's that word, prepared. What are we using to prepare? Think of it in police terms. If a homeowner knew that his house was going to be burglarized, wouldn't he stand at the door and stop somebody from doing it? That's preparation, but it's also knowledge that you don't have. Some things you just can't control. Sometimes you just might not be ready. If Jesus came today, are you prepared? Could you stand at the right hand of God? Would you look him in the eye and know what he wants to see in you? If for some reason you got sick or you weren't doing well, what are you prepared for? Now I want you to understand that I'm not talking about some of these things to scare you. We have to use our life experiences to really evaluate what's happening. Perspective on my side. I'm an accident investigator. I go to every fatality there is in Escondido that involves a car accident. I want you to think of this. 102 people died a day in the United States in 2016 from car accidents. 102 a day. People don't think of these things. There's so many other things that you could worry about every single day. But because media is not pushing it every single day, you're not thinking about it. So you have to consider, what are you watching? What is pushing your daily narrative? The other thing that I thought of after my wife brought it to my thought process was, how many people have been saved as a result of COVID-19? How many people in a time of tragedy look to that one thing that they need to hold tight to? Hope. How is God talking to us? Isaiah 43:1 says this, "Don't fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name, and you are mine." God actually calls us not to fear or worry. This phrase, "fear not," appears more than 80 times in the Bible. That's fairly significant. How many times do you have to be told something to learn it? Think about it. I believe that this appears so many times because God most likely wants us to know that our enemy uses fear and worry to take away his victory, which can't be done. You cannot take away his victory, and his victory is in you. He wants to limit your happiness, and you can't allow it. We never know what today holds. We don't know if it's COVID-19. We don't know if it's a car crash, the flu, cancer, natural disaster, heart attack. So many things you could sit at home and worry about all day long, but it'll just steal your fear and your joy. Don't spend your day in fear or in dismay. God is always with us, but no one knows the time we have. What may happen on the way home, what we're not prepared for, I've seen it time and time again. People didn't get to say goodbye. They didn't think about it. You treat everybody with love as God would treat you. You can't prepare for everything. You don't know if it'll be a medical problem or the unexplainable. We don't get to choose, and many, many times, you don't get that last second to ask God into your life. You're on the roll, big or small. We're all vulnerable no matter what you do. I've seen tragedy and horror and things I can't possibly explain. The one constant has always been God. The one people pray to in times of tragedy, in times of horror, fear, and distress. So why not be prepared? This is one of my favorite scriptures, and I love it. Isaiah 41:10. "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my righteous right hand." So then what's left? I offer this to you today to give it to God. Experience the life and joy and peace that having the Lord in your heart can bring. If you haven't accepted Jesus into your heart, you haven't had that opportunity to give a thought process to what really can take your fear away. If you feel distant or alone, you're struggling right now like a lot of people, or feel like you're struggling, and or you just need to recommit, I'm going to offer this prayer to you today. Let's pray. Jesus, come into my life and my heart. I surrender it to you. Guide me. Be the Lord of my life. Help me prepare for you and live as you would have me live. Take my fear, my anxiety, and hold me up forever, as I am always in your hands. Lord, I ask that you guide my life and take my sin. Amen. You guys, God calls us not to fear, to be in a relationship with him, to find his peace that nothing else can offer, to be able to give your need, your concern, your worries, everything you have to him. Reach out to one another. Be an extension of God today. You're in God's hands, and there's nothing to fear.
Glad you joined us for the service today. We're Valley Center. We're Ridgeview Church in Valley Center, California, and we just want to put this out to you. This message of hope, this message of peace, this message of purpose in the midst of these times, and that if you follow these prescriptions, it will serve you well and take you beyond the days of the concerns of this life and put you in a different place. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we all face the end, the sunset of our lives. And this is a time for us all to prepare for that. And to, what in the meantime, to live like the sunshine of the land. My friends Eddie and Joe are going to sing one last song for us today. I hope you enjoy it. Listen to it. God bless you.
There's a candle in